Hello, you are watching Anewz. I'm Bakhtiar Sanov. U.S. forces struck 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. President Donald Trump announced declaring that Fordow has been destroyed. Trump's decision to join Israel's military campaign against Iran represents a major escalation of the conflict. Donald Trump called Iran the bully of the Middle East and warned of additional attacks if it didn't make peace. Iranian state media confirmed strikes on nuclear sites, quoting officials. Iran's state-run IRNA news agency reported early Sunday that attacks also targeted the country's Isfahan and Natanz nuclear sites. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised Trump's decision to attack. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that he was gravely alarmed by the dangerous escalation of American bombers attacking nuclear sites in Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump addressed the nation after U.S. strikes on Iran.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
President Donald Trump has declared the U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities a major success, while also delivering stark warnings to Tehran against any retaliation. Nick Harper reports from Washington, D.C.
US President Donald Trump, speaking from the White House, said that this had been a spectacular military success. The US targeting 3 Iranian facilities which are known to be used to enrich uranium. Donald Trump said that they had been completely and fully obliterated. But he also warned Iran not now to retaliate, saying that future attacks from the United States would be far greater and a lot easier. And he said that Iran basically now has the ball in its court as to what takes place in the Middle East region, warning them this cannot continue, saying there will be either peace or tragedy for Iran, also pointing out that the US had many targets left that it could potentially decide to strike. So the US president, despite on Thursday saying that he would decide within the next 2 weeks whether to join Israel and strike Iran, has decided to take the decision just 48 hours after that pronouncement and going ahead with this late Saturday evening US time strike against Iran. He is painting it as a success. Tehran is vowing to retaliate. The US president is warning them not to do so unless it wants to receive more US weaponry targeting places throughout Iran. Nick Harper for Anewz in Washington.
Iran announced early Sunday that there were no signs of contamination at its nuclear facilities in Isfahan, Fordow and Natanz following U.S. airstrikes targeting the sites. According to Iranian state media, the country's National Nuclear Safety System Center issued a statement confirming that its radiation detectors had not recorded any release of radioactive material after the attacks. U.S. strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites sparked serious concerns over nuclear proliferation and international law, drawing strong condemnation from Iran's Atomic Energy Organization. Our correspondent Turaj Shiralilo has the latest from Tehran.
Iran's Atomic Energy Organization has strongly condemned U.S. attacks on 3 Iranian nuclear sites in Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan in central Iran. In a statement issued minutes after the attack on Sunday, the agency said that these attacks were blatant violation of international norms, including the Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT). The Iranian agency also said that it will follow up legally inaction by the International Atomic Energy Agency regarding these attacks on Iran's nuclear sites, which are under monitoring of the UN body. Iran has vowed that it will retaliate by answering these attacks. So in coming days, an escalation of tension is expected in the region. Turaj Shiralilo reporting for Anewz TV, Tehran.
Joining us now from Tel Aviv is Tom Gross, political analyst and longtime observer of regional affairs. Tom, welcome to the program and thank you for taking the time to share your insights during these tense hours.
So, about an hour ago, Iran launched one of the heaviest bombardments of missiles at really the whole of Israel since the beginning of this conflict 8 days ago. There were so many rockets that came through that Israeli missile defense could not manage to intercept all of them. About 10 got through. 1 hit an old age home. They're all targeted at civilians. These are war crimes. Whatever some other media say, Israel aims at military targets and tries to minimize any risk of civilian being hit, whether Israel is hitting Iran or Lebanon or Gaza. This is some of the biggest barrage of huge ballistic missiles aimed at civilians that we saw about an hour ago. Nevertheless, people in Israel this morning are, I would say, in a good mood, because for decades, the state of Israel has lived under this threat of a nuclear weapons in the hands of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is a genocidal regime, which from the very beginning of the 1979 revolution, it has proclaimed death to Israel. And one thing that the Jewish people have learned, having gone through a Holocaust within living memory, they are still Holocaust survivors from the Nazi Holocaust, is that when someone says they're going to wipe out an entire people, the Jews have learned to believe them. So this is not a joke. Iran, the other countries that tried to get nuclear weapons in recent decades, which is Saddam Hussein in Iraq and Assad in Syria, Israel prevented them by bombing in 1981 Osirak in Iraq and 2007 nuclear weapons sites in Syria. And we have to remember that both Assad and Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons on civilians against their own citizens, in fact, in the case of both Assad and Saddam Hussein. So it's not a light threat for Iran to go nuclear. So in spite of the fact that the entire Israeli population is proving itself incredible resilience to be bombed, to withstand this barrage of attacks as we're seeing on screen now, people are relieved because for all our lives we've kind of known that at some point Iranian nuclear program will have to be taken out, as it was last night by President Trump and the United States, by missiles, because, you know, the Western powers and also Russia have been negotiating with the Islamic Republic for many, many years, and the Islamic Republic is playing games. It is clear that the Islamic Republic wants a nuclear weapons arsenal, which is why it spent tens of billions of dollars building a military fortified site underground in Fordow, which was bombed last night by the United States because no other country has a bomb powerful enough to penetrate Fordow, which is why B-2 planes from the United States flew all the way from Missouri, apparently, and dropped up to 6 heavy bombs on Fordow. And according to President Trump, that has been finished, Fordow as a nuclear site. There were also, I believe, about 30 Tomahawk missiles fired at the underground part of Isfahan, which also has an underground part to its nuclear site. Israel was able to hit the overground part in the last 7 days in Isfahan and Natanz, but only American bombers could hit the underground part.
Mr. Gross, how might Iran respond to these strikes? Should we expect immediate retaliation or a more calculated long-term strategy?
Well, there has been immediate retaliation against Israel this morning. You know, as I just said, 10 missiles got through in spite of Israel's world-class missile defense. And because it was early morning, some people were asleep. In one case in Haifa, in the northern city of Haifa, which is mixed Jewish and Arab, the missile sirens malfunctioned, so the people weren't given the warning to get to bomb shelters. In other cases, sometimes it's the shrapnel falling from the bomb once the bombs have been intercepted by Israel missile defense. Of course, what we've seen this morning, these 2 barrages, may only be the beginning of the Iranian response, but President Trump has warned the Islamic regime that if they respond to the American act last night, America will hit back much harder. But it's hard to know what the Islamic regime will do. I mean, America has a massive military force around Iran. They have bases all over the Gulf. So I think that the Islamic regime would be well advised not to up the ante. I should also point out that although Israel has been very, very targeted in its strikes against the military and nuclear scientists in the past 9 days, Israel also has a lot of weapons it has not used yet. Israel has not used any of its own missiles. And Israel doesn't want to, because Israel's war is not with the Iranian people. In fact, the Iranian people and the Israeli people enjoyed very good relations up until the 1979 Islamic Revolution. And as far as we can tell, most Iranians, like most Israelis, want to enjoy warm relations in future. So the last thing that Israel wants to do is kill civilians in Iran. Nevertheless, we have to see how it transpires. If I just might add one more thing, so that international viewers can get an understanding. As we know, the Jewish people are a small people, 12, 14 million, most of them now living in Israel, but also in other countries. Historically, very few countries have been friendly towards the Jewish people. I'm thinking, for example, of Azerbaijan has been friendly, Albania has been friendly, India has been friendly. Today, the United States government is friendly. But Jews around the world in other countries know that were Israel to be wiped out, which is the aim of the Islamic regime in Iran, Jews elsewhere will also be much more vulnerable. In spite of the fact Iran and before that Hamas and Hezbollah are sending rockets at Israel still feels safer that they have a strong army and a strong air force than were Israel not to exist. And this will make Jews vulnerable again, as they were in the past, which led to the Holocaust. So in spite of the difficult times that Israelis are going through, the vast majority are thankful to their government of Netanyahu. Even those people that don't support or vote for the government are thankful to the Netanyahu government for this act against Iran. And even those who don't like President Trump are greatly thankful to President Trump in Israel. But I should say that if people are honest with themselves from other countries, they should also be thankful to President Trump, because had the Iranians managed to acquire nuclear weapons, this would also have set off a nuclear arms race in the Gulf, making the entire world far, far less safe. And I think deep down, even diplomats in Geneva know that the Iranian regime was never going to agree through diplomacy to dismantle its nuclear program.
Tom Gross, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your valuable perspective at such a critical moment. We greatly appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now I'm joined by Vlad Olteanu, political analyst and senior European Union legal and policy expert. Vlad, welcome to the program.
For having me.
Well, first of all, how significant are these strikes in terms of their military and symbolic impact on Iran's nuclear program?
Well, I think we shall see this in the few hours. It seems that the strikes were significant. It seems that they were targeting all three sites, nuclear sites in Iran. And it seems that this is clearly aimed at reducing or annihilating, actually, the nuclear program within Iran. The question is this the beginning of a more action on that side, or is it just one-off action? In any event, be it one-off action or the beginning of something bigger, it is a significant development, and it takes this conflict, or it risks taking this conflict to the next level, from a regional conflict in between two countries to a much more than regional conflict.
Mr. Olteanu, what are the likely immediate responses from Iran, both militarily and diplomatically?
That would be also something to watch carefully over the next hours and days. Diplomatically, there was a lot of diplomatic activity going on, including with the European Union representatives.
Yes.
Over the last few days. I would suppose that the diplomatic activity would increase, because I think it is in the interest of all parties to actually get diplomacy to work and find a solution via a diplomatic path, rather than escalate. Escalation will not be good for the world. First of all, it will not be good for the region. It will destabilize the region, and not just the Gulf region, but also the region north of Iran. It could create significant migrant fluxes, and I think Turkey's president was very clear in mentioning that that could be the case for Europe. And I think Europe cannot either afford it today, nor does it wish it.
Vlad Olteanu,
so I think from that side.
Yes.
from that
thank
side,
you.
the diplomacy needs to work.
You want to add something?
No, I just said that from all those perspectives, diplomacy has only one chance to work.
Thank you very much for sharing your time and expertise with us at this critical moment. We greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and for latest developments, follow A News.